Welcome to Sandown International Motor Raceway, as the sign says, the home of horsepower, and we're about to see one of the highest horsepower fields available in the Australian motorsport landscape let loose on this fantastic historic layout here at the little wedge of land between Dandenong and Springvale here in Melbourne.
There is a very funky, a very distinctive paint scheme on the 23 Red Racing Porsche this weekend. I thought we'd stop by and have a chat with a young man who's got an enormous amount of talent, has spent the early part of his career in Formula 4 in this country, and then of course went over and competed as a Red Bull Junior in Europe. Lewis Leeds, nice to see you.
Yep, nice to see you too, Rusty.
How are you settling in here to the Michelin Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge?
Getting used to it. A lot different to what I've been racing so far in my career, but yeah, the team's given me a great car. Got a great engineer, Rob RP. He's fast tracking my development.
And how have you, in amidst of the competition, Richard Crale's been talking about the calibre of young racers here. It's a tough championship in 2018, isn't it?
Yeah, in comparison to last year, I think the depth of the pro drivers here, and even some of the pro-am, they've got a lot of talent. So yeah, every weekend we're going to tracks that everyone's sort of been on. I know Max and Cooper, they raced Australian Formula Ford last year, so they know their stuff, but so do I. I've been there 2015, I was racing Formula Ford, so yeah, it's a really competitive field.
So it's round two of the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge Australia. They're still talking about round one. The opening hit out was an amazing success at the Bend Motorsport Park, and this championship is just getting better and better. We're already 2 races in the weekend. We're getting ready for race 3. The first one on Saturday afternoon was a cracker. It was won by Simon Fallon with Chelsea Angelo second. That's how they gritted up for race 2 earlier on today. It was a great drive. There were some drivers coming through the field as well. Max Vidal in the 77 Sonic Motor Racing car penalised for contact with Cooper Murray in race 1, right at the back of the field. This was turn 1. Big moment. 4 into 1 at Sandown. It just doesn't work. 4 cars involved: Daniel Studdert, Rob Woods, Ben Stack, and the youngster Christian Pancioni, who got the damage in his number 75 Ash Seawood Motorsport car. This was the view inside the youngster. Quite a hefty hit. Punched the radiator out in the left front corner, and that would be the end of his race. That also put the race under safety car for the first time in cool but crisp conditions here at Sandown Raceway. A brief safety car intervention. Fallon led the field back to green. Chelsea Angelo was in close company and applying the pressure. In third place was the youngster from 23 Red Racing, Lewis Leeds. That was the 17-year-old from Glenelg, South Australia, Tom Taplin, just having an off down at turn 1. So just when we thought things would settle down, the field got to the rise at turn 6 and 7. And unfortunately for Chelsea Angelo, a massive impact at Dandenong Road. Both sides of the car heavily damaged. The young Melbourneian got out of the car unscathed, but it was a huge impact and would end her weekend in the Pace Wall Racing Porsche. It would also end race 2, the field going back to pit lane as lengthy repairs were undertaken on the big wall. Lengthy repairs as well for this car. A massive job for Wall Racing to get it back on track in time for round 3, Phillip Island, in a couple of weeks. So the results for race 2 are the grid for race 3. Simon Fallon will go from pole position. Lewis Leeds and Cooper Murray next. Watch for Cooper in the second row of the grid. Max Vidal is rival alongside him. Brett Bolton best of the Pro-Am runners. Ross McGregor having a really good weekend, with Danny Studdert, Sam Fillmore, Jimmy Vernon and Michael Lochisano, the 10. Here's Max Vidal on the limiter. Will he be one to watch from the second row?
It's time for the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge Australia. The final race of the weekend, and it's a drag race between Fallon and Leeds down towards turn 1. We need to watch out for Cooper Murray and Max Vidal because they're going off the second row of the grid. Max hasn't got a very good start though. Bright yellow and blue Bob Jane T-Mart's car. Huge lock-up. Lewis Leeds on the outside, but he gets it stopped. Turned into turn 1. Good start from Brett Bolton. He's in 4th place, just in front of Max Vidal, who didn't get away nicely. So it's the final race of the weekend. We saw race 2 stopped earlier on in the morning today. Half points were awarded to that, which means as we've got a traffic jam into turn 4, Simon Fallon at the moment leads the championship by 1 point over Cooper Murray, with Max Vidal just 11 further behind in third place. I'm going to introduce a special guest commentator in just a second while we get this opening lap sorted out. Great cold tyre pace from Simon Fallon in the 96 car. He leads the field down to Dandenong Road for the first time. Lewis leads next, Cooper Murray in third. And we're going to go safety car in the opening lap of this race, which, for Richard Bloomfield, which gives me the opportunity to welcome our guest commentator. And I hate doing this because I would much rather see them out on the racetrack. This is like, it's not even a runner-up prize for being here, Chelsea Angelo. This is the last place trophy is coming and sitting alongside me. I'm glad you're here. I'd much rather see you on the racetrack, though.
Thanks, Palsy. I really appreciate that. But yeah, it's much more tougher being on the sidelines. I mean, obviously I would love to be out there, but unfortunately the safety car was due to my incident in race 2, which was unfortunate. Just came in a bit too hot into 6 and 7, and unfortunately we were in the wall. I mean, we had really good pace in race 2, so I was really happy with that, and we can take that into Phil Weil in the next coming round. But yeah, like I said, I would love to be out there, but that's just motorsport.
Let's see what happens in this one. A restart with Simon Fallon leading the field out of the final corner in front of Lewis Leeds, and a very fast Cooper Murray locked in behind, and instantly he drives that Sonic Porsche down to the yellow line to cover and defend to the big stop at turn 1. Vidal next. Look at Cooper going right around the outside. He did this yesterday, Chelsea. Went around the outside up at Dandenong Road.
Yeah, he went right around the outside at turn 6 on Simon. So it's a pretty risky, hairy move, but he got the job done.
Especially on cold tyres.
Definitely.
So great stuff. Cooper Murray, who was a superstar at round 1, which was won by Max Vidal, and we'll keep talking about that amazing final race there because it deserves to be talked about for a long time. One of the great Porsche races. So there's 12 laps to go in this. Fallon, Murray and Leeds 1, 2 and 3. Vidal next. He's in the Bob Janes Sonic car. Brett Bolton up to 5th place. He's leading the Pro-Am standing, so the race within a race in GT3 Cup Challenge. He and Danny Studdard at the moment are locked together on points for the round victory there in Pro-Am. So this is a tiebreaker for them. Danny's just a position back in 7th. So whoever finishes in front of those two cars will win the big trophy in Pro-Am.
That's a pretty tight, pretty tight series at the moment. So we'll see who comes out on best.
Good stuff for Simon Fallon. How difficult is it on these laps to actually, speaking of, we've lost him. He's back to 4th place, unseen
Simon.
by us. He's had a moment.
What happened there?
We were looking further down the field at the Pro-Am battle, and Simon's gone from 1st to 4th. And Cooper Murray now leads the race. Well, I was just about to make the point that how difficult is it when you've got cold tyres, your pressures are down, you haven't got tyre temp on a restart. It's every corner's a new and exciting adventure.
It is. I mean, especially on cold tyres as well, you know, you're not going to feel those tyres come on to about lap 4, lap 5, or even lap 6. So it's really important to try and get up the top and try and get up to speed as quick as what you can to try and get the gap on everyone. So yeah, it's definitely a hard thing for sure.
Jimmy Vernon with a good run out of turn 4, looking to get up the inside of Brett Bolton on the run up to 6. So we'll have a look at that at the back of the shot. He's done that in the Opticoat car from McElroy Racing. Jimmy, who qualified reasonably well, got caught out a little bit by the red flags in qualifying yesterday, went to do a launch in race 1 and dropped the clutch, and there was no clutch. So it broke that clutch on the Opticoat car, so McElroy Racing did the change. In 3 racing laps this morning, he worked his way up inside the top 10. He's now 5th place at the moment, which is a good result for the young Sydney-sider. At least he's got good tyres. Many laps yesterday.
Definitely.
And now Brett Bolton under pressure from Danny Studdard. So this is the fight for the Pro-Am victory, the race within a race. Whoever finishes in front of those two cars, they're just exiting turn 1, will win that class. And it's a pretty hotly contested championship this year. As much as the Pro class is at the front of the field, the Pro-Am is just as well. That's a big moment. Ben Stack, a little bit too much curb, looking to go down the inside there at turn 3. And he's looped his car. Really bumpy in there. We were talking about it in the last race at Chelsea, that those bumps before you're trying to break the car at turn 2, looks like they're worse than they've ever been.
They are. I mean, especially on Friday wet practice as well. The bumps going into turn 2 is unbelievable. So you want to be able to try and get a good braking line into 2 to set up for 3.
How do you make that? Because he was looking down the inside of Sam Fillmore, who's in the 27 car, and Sam just closed the door. He was.
Yeah, I don't know if he was up far enough on the car in front. So maybe if he was up a little bit more far enough, he would have made that one for sure.
Stephen Johnson will have a look at that. The series driver standards observer plays the same role for Carrera Cup Australia as well. Not too long until their next round. They head up to the top end at Hidden Valley, actually the week after we're at Phillip Island for the next round of Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. So sublime to the ridiculous. Phillip Island in the middle of winter to Darwin in the middle of winter. There's about 30 degrees difference between the two of them.
That's crazy. It's definitely crazy because our next round's at Phillip Island. I can guarantee that's definitely going to be a cold one for sure.
Good weather for penguins. Max Sividau has got a really good run now out of turn 4, and Lewis leads in the 23 red racing cars. Had to defend down the inside. Pretty
Got
textbook
it done
stuff.
Nicely.
Bit of a wobble getting that car stopped though. He was right on the limit, but a good move. So now he can go out after his little rival from round 1, the teenagers at the front of the field, Murray v Vidal, with Lewis leads back in 3rd place. We touched on it in race 1. If you're wondering why Lewis has got the brightest livery in the world, and we're about to see it now in replay, it's a testament to the sponsor for that car this weekend, Yarra Valley Towing. Kirky, who owns that business, is noted for getting around in the Hawaiian shirt. He's got a bit of a cancer battle on his hands at the moment.
I did, yeah.
But
I did see that.
Really nice touch for 23 Red to put a Hawaiian shirt on the race car.
Yeah, that's nice.
In tribute to their mate.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
That's awesome. Good work.
Here's the fight with Brett Bolton and Danny Studdard. Once again, Brett's in a really good mood. Last night, his business Bold Living won one of the major Australian Home Industry Awards at an awards function.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That's incredible for him.
Well done to Brett, one of those guys that balances a successful business and the pressures of running a company, and then going car racing's his golf game, I suppose, on the weekend. But does it very, very well.
That's always a good game to go to.
Greg's walking around a paddock chasing a white ball for me. So this is a good scrap. He's a good driver. The team were wrapped with his launch in race 2 early on. Now, has Simon had an off?
Yeah, looks like it.
I think he's run that car off at turn 6, and it's missing from where I'm sitting the little front splitter, the rubber splitter that
it has.
clips on under the radiator intakes, and that actually generates quite a little bit of downforce on these cars.
Yeah, it definitely does. Having that loss on the front splitter definitely has a lot of that downforce as well, but it also does upset in terms of turn-in as well, because I've definitely come off with a few of the front splitters as well, and it's definitely affected the turn-in.
So that's why the 96 car is struggling. Just check the points for you, because I think they were crunching the numbers before, and if he finished 4th, he was still going to be in a reasonable spot to win the round. What he won't want is Jimmy Vernon going through and grabbing that position away. Now, Jimmy's got a better race car than Simon because he's not handicapped by having that damage to the front end. So this is going to be an interesting fight with 7 laps to go. We'll follow that story for you. This is the other story of the round battle with Bolton and Studdard next. What's been the biggest thing you feel like personally you've improved on from round 1 to round 2? Bearing in mind you've done only a little bit of testing before the start of the year. You haven't had a lot of seat time in the last 18 months in your racing career. What's been the change? Have you felt just more comfortable this weekend from where you were at round 1?
Yeah, I think so. I think with Tail and Ben, obviously it was a brand new track for everyone. So going into that weekend and having thoughts that, I haven't raced for 18 months, I haven't done a lot of race starts in these cars before, didn't know what my competition was going to be like. So it's not the ideal way to have those thoughts traveling in your mind. So yes, I was a little bit nervous over that weekend, but we still did a pretty good job for our first round considering having raced for a while. But we came into Sandown, I came into Sandown knowing that I had a lot of confidence and I was comfortable with everything. I've been here before, I've won races here before. So we came into this weekend and my goal for the weekend was to be on it on Friday at the top, and we did that successfully. So we came this weekend and just having that confidence and feeling comfortable about the whole weekend definitely makes a difference. And obviously we got unreal race starts as well, so that's definitely been an improvement from Adelaide.
You said to me after practice on Friday that you wanted to hit it hard early, and which you felt like you didn't do at the bend, and you were top 3 in the wet practice sessions on Friday. So I think you ticked that box.
And that's the main thing too, Richard. I mean, you don't want to come to the end of the weekend and be on it on Sunday where you could have been doing that on Friday, So I definitely achieved those goals that weekend.
Battle's going on all the way through the field. Christian Pancioni is on the comeback trail in his Class B car, and he's just worked his way past David Gregg. Now this is the Pro-Am battle for the lead and for the round victory. And Brett Bolton hustled wide at turn 1. Danny Studdert goes through, and that's a change of position. 6th and 7th on the road, but the context is bigger than that because it's the big trophy.
Oh, Studdert.
Oh, wow.
That was a big, hairy moment.
That's easy to do on the exit there, isn't it? That big curb on the exit.
You don't want to take too much of that exit curb because you can get dragged and bogged down and get really close to that wall. So it's quite a fine line to hit that exit curb.
So we just caught the end of this as they were braking for turn 1. Is that easy to do, to grab that brake down there?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you've really got to sort of modulate the brake pressure quite well. You don't want to sort of be on it and off it, on and off it, because it really upsets the modulation of the brake. So, yeah, I think he's just locked up his front left too much and just gone a bit wide into one.
More battles all the way through the field. It's a hallmark of Porsche racing. Cooper Murray goes through. Max Vidal breaks the lap record. The gap down to 2 seconds now. He's going out after him. I think he's going to run out of laps, but he's going after the leader. 1:11.12 for the Sonic Porsche, chasing down the Ash Seaward Run number 36 car that leads the way. A couple of sensational teenagers who put on a show the opening round of the championship. That's a look through the field, the relative positions where our top half a dozen cars are. 6th and 7th on the road, 1st and 2nd in Pro-Am. And whoever finishes first out of these two on the road in this race will win the Pro-Am round. So they were tied on points coming into it. Danny Studdert, who has been getting huge amounts of miles in recent years in Porsche Cup cars especially, as Max gets down the inside of Sam Fillmore, so that's not for position, that's putting him a lap down. It'll cost him a little bit of time though, getting lap traffic on that run down the hill especially. Give away a lot of time in that final sector. Christian Pancioni, another youngster who'd done barely any racing before the opening round at Tailem Bend. He's another one Ash Seaward's discovered this year. He's just gone and hired a whole bunch of young superstars to drive his racing cars. Actually, Ash came up to me as, Barwood looks down the inside of Ross McGregor, couldn't get it done at Dandenong Road. Ash Seaward came up to me after quali and said, when was the last time one team had locked out pole position in all 3 classes? And I couldn't give him an answer, but he was pretty proud of that. It was a good effort. Here is Cooper Murray. Half a racetrack to go. And that's the first and second place there. Then we go back to Lewis Leeds. Lewis has had a pretty decent weekend, solid. Just, again, like we talked about, accumulating points.
That's it. I mean, Lewis has done a great job so far this weekend. He's accumulated points, so that's the main thing as well, and he hasn't made any mistakes, so he's done really well. Fallon
under pressure. This is the last roll of the dice for Jimmy Vernon. Good driving from Fallon. Just put his car in the right position, but Jimmy looking to go around the outside here. That's big.
That's massive.
Wow, big move.
I've never seen that move ever happen before.
That is enormous. Great stuff for Jimmy Vernon. Great stuff for Cooper Murray. He'll bounce back from disappointment yesterday. Delight today. A victory in race 3. The Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. Max Vidal, another one driving through the field, gets home in 2nd. Lewis leads 3rd. Jimmy Vernon beats Simon Fallon with an enormous move on the final lap. And Danny Studdert, after a race-long battle with Brett Bolton, will just pip his rival for the Pro-Am class round victory to the line. McGregor, Barwood, Michael Hovey inside the top 10. Chelsea, thanks for joining me. Please don't join me in the commentary box for the rest of the year. I'd much rather see you on the racetrack.
Likewise, I'm the same.
Looking forward to following your
Thank
career.
you.
That's Chelsea Angelo. That's the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. Take a break from Sandown. So much more racing to come.
In the coverage at the last round at Tailem Bend, we talked about the stunning-looking Wolf racing cars in the prototype series. So I thought we'd spend a moment and have a closer look at the car that Sage Murdoch is driving this weekend. You are one very lucky man. You can tell the sports car lineage here, great aerodynamics and a lot more horsepower than you've been used to in Formula 4 as well.
Yeah, major difference with compared to the Formula 4 to this. It's just a step up, and yeah, horsepower definitely, 100 horsepower difference. The torque is a lot more, so you just get more power out of the corners, and straight line speed
Yeah.
Powered by a Honda engine, about 260 horsepower. They weigh, I mean, the power to weight ratio is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, they weigh about from 600 to 650 kilos. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
What adaptation has there been for you stepping out of Formula 4, and how much did it prep you for this series in some respects?
Actually, it prepped me a lot. It taught me how to drive an aero car a lot more, and if I hadn't have done that series, I wouldn't have been as good as this, as what I am now.
Round 2 of the Australian Prototype Series presented by Hot Wheels brings Australia's answer to Le Mans style racing to Sandown International Raceway. Here at Shannon Nationals, Sage Murdoch with an onboard camera. This is JP Drake, the very cool Hot Wheels Wolf GB08. He will be starting from a very strong third position. The grid has Jason Macris and Mark Lauke 1 and 2 after a dramatic opening race on Saturday that saw rain fall halfway through, and the Wolf driver grabbed that brand's first win on Australian soil. Phil Hughes from 4th, Tony Haggerty and Chris Perini next to watch for Dimitri Asada-Laudis. He starts in the SR8, radical from the back of the field, but should be one to charge his way forward. This is the view from Phil Hughes, getting set for the rolling start. That long drag race into turn 1 gives you a good impression of how close it is, just staying off the gearbox of Mark Lauke's car in front. Away we go. The Wolf has the horsepower. Great start from Jason Macris. JP Drake will look down the inside of Mark Lauke and clears him easily in that long run into turn 1. Lauke will look down the inside. Hughes to the outside, really deep, too deep in fact. He's gone off the road. And now his next job is to keep it out of the gravel trap if he can. Drive it out, Phil. Well, an ambitious move around the outside. Ultimately locked the rears and sent the car flying off into the undergrowth. JP Drake, the big winner from that start. He's second behind his teammate Jason Macris. There's Asada-Laudis. We mentioned that he'll be one to watch as he comes through the field. Here's Sage Murdoch. Unfortunately, there was some serious dramas with his Wolf GB08 in Saturday's race. He switched to the backup car, a West WX10. And just limping around at the back of the field, that car doesn't sound healthy on the opening lap of this race. Asada-Laudis already passed Tony Haggerty. Simon Haggerty, his next one to watch. Here's Mark Lauke, running in third in close company. Those two Wolves so powerful, they'll be better in a straight line than the defending champions West WX10. 1 lap down, longest race in the series history. Wolves 1 and 2. Then back to the west of the defending champion. Radicals next. They run through that famous turn 1 here at Sandown.
So Jason Macris leads the way at Sandown. Brilliant start for the 2 Jam Motorsport Wolf GB08s. He leads his teammate JP Drake. The reigning champion Mark Lauke hanging tough in 3rd place. They've got a comfortable margin now over Simon Haggerty, who's got up to 4th place, the first of the radicals in the field. Tony Haggerty, his dad, just in behind. The big story, Phil Hughes off the road at turn 1. The winner of this round 12 months ago, he is well and truly beached there, and he is not moving, so that will require a safety car to extricate that car from the gravel trap at turn 1. Full head of steam barreling down there. Wasn't sure if there was contact or not on that run into turn 1, but he's ended up down there. He's not moving, and we do go safety car, so the race will be neutralised while that Radical SR3, the round winner at Sandown 12 months ago, is recovered from the gravel trap. Pretty frenetic start. The Wolves 1 and 2.
This is the longer race that we've seen the Australian prototypes running in. There's certainly a whole lot of unknowns that we're actually exploring for the first time for the Australian Prototype Series. It's going to be out of 28 laps. We've got 4 laps in the bag already as we come under control of the BMW Melbourne safety car. And these Wolves that have jumped away very, very nicely. And I'm hoping that it's not a race of attrition here. I'm hoping it's going to be a really good, strong race with all cars getting on through.
So a restart. We're back underway at Sandown. There's 22 laps to go. It's Jason Macris leading JP Drake and Mark Lauke. The run down this long start-finish straight. The Radicals are squabbling behind them. Dimitri Zardoulaudis has blazed past Simon Haggerty and grabs third place, fourth place away. But Haggerty fights back down the inside, retakes the spot. So the Radicals are squabbling over the Miners. The top 3 spots locked out, the 2 Wolves and then the West of Mark Lauke, the defending champion. But good restart from Zardoulaudis. That car repaired after impact yesterday on the exit of the left-hander at Dandenong Road in those really greasy conditions. Spun the car on the exit of the corner and made frontal contact. But a battle on for the race lead, wheel to wheel. JP Drake round the outside of his teammate Jason Macris. The 2 Wolves wheel to wheel, and there's brilliant corner exit for Drake, and he's gone past as they turn in at turn 6 at the top. The golden black wolf goes in front of the green and black one, change of the lead.
Gee, you couldn't have written the script for that more perfectly as these 2 Wolves are going for it in front. And I dare say, Mark Lauke's probably just enjoying the spectacle of going on out the front at the moment. There's 22 laps remaining. He just needs to stay in touch with them. And I guess with 5 or 6 remaining to start to show the nose of the very brightly coloured West from Lauke Flour Mills, as it is. And coming on to the front straight here, certainly the Wolves do have a fair bit more frontal area. They're a bit more harder to push through the air than the West with its very, very low slung rear wing. And the Radicals, of course, sitting up a fair bit higher, but have exceptionally more torque and certainly more weight. The good news is that Phil Hughes has rejoined the field, albeit a lap down for those watching on at home. His kids and wife will be certainly watching on down in the Mornington Peninsula. So catching up with the Haggerty family here and the Nelson family as well. Oh, and there's Sage Murdoch out on the inside of Dandenong Road, right in front of the flag point.
He's had a shocking weekend, Daz. Really terrible, as we said. Oil pressure issues in his Wolf yesterday. Sidelined that car after just a couple of laps. Didn't do any racing. And switched to the backup West overnight, and still more dramas. And now not taking any further part by the looks of it, with that car pulled off quite safely, it must be said, to the inside. Their drivers left on the Armco just past or just before the apex of the very tight, very famous left-hand corner.
With all the action that we see down there, that's actually probably a safe haven where he's pulled up there. It's one of the places that not too many cars end up if they're in strife there. One thing that Mark Lauke's got to be very aware of right now is that he's dropping back rapidly off the front of these 2. It's now over 4 seconds between himself and those guys, so he can't allow that to ease out too much more before he's well and truly lost contact. In fact, Zardoulaudis at the moment is starting to range up onto Mark Lauke, so he needs to respond, and he needs to respond right now to the charge with these 2 Wests out in front.
James Winslow doing some driver coaching and some work with Dimitri Zardoulaudis, which is fantastic, and was talking to him yesterday after the crash. Said, keep your head up, keep working. We'll get the car fixed, we'll send it out for tomorrow, and he certainly did. Now Macris on the attack, right in the slipstream of his exuberant teammate JP Drake as they run up to the top of the hill. Yellow flags flying at the run to Dandy Road, so there'll be no overtaking. You'll have to be in front before you turn the car into turn 6 if you want to complete a pass there with Sage Murdoch parked on the side of the road. Terrific racing though, wheel-to-wheel stuff for the 2 Jam Motorsport teammates, and these very cool Honda-powered Wolf GBO8 prototypes.
The Hot Wheels car against the Marina Mirage outfit there. The golden black versus the green and black, and it is looking like it's going to be 20 laps of these 2 protagonists showing us their wares as they come down the very long straight here. It will be John Paul Drake that just pulls the slightest ever gap there, but under brakes, Jason Macris is absolutely massive. The missile, his fellow competitors called him at Tail and Bend at round 1.
Well, it was his mate JP Drake, who's currently leading him, that called him that. So he dubbed him the missile as he fired up. Having said that, his Instagram account is JMacAttack. So he plays it up as well. And again, another really good run out of turn 4. This long back straight up the road. Drake just positioning his car nicely right in the middle of Sandown Raceway, so there's not quite enough of a wolf-sized gap on the outside there for Macris to go through. Yellow flags have been removed. Now down the inside of Dandenong Road, had a big look. Jason Macris couldn't do it, couldn't get the pass done. Had a big look though, and Drake just firmly shut the door. Great wheel-to-wheel racing.
Zardoulaudis now gone through on Mark Lauke in car number 1, and we've heard some word from down trackside that car number 1 has got an engine miss.
Wheel to wheel again, brilliant run out of the final corner. Drake on the outside, terrific scrap. Macris having a look, but Drake must have got the better corner exit because he's just pulled back in front of his teammate. This is a great scrap. No, he's got it wrong. Drake locks a brake into turn one. The right front Kumo grabbed, and Jason Macris goes through. Fantastic scrap.
A wry smile on the face of Jason Macris as he watched his fellow competitor John Paul Drake lock it up. And at the moment, better you than me, buddy.
Zardalaudis has gone to third, so that report we heard from pit lane about a potential engine miss on car number one seems to be coming true, because Lauke has dropped behind Mitch Nielsen and Simon Haggerty in the pair of radicals as well. The West is straight line speed as its key advantage in a place like this. Not showing so much in this one. It did sound pretty ill. It came past our commentary box. Mark, like we said in relation to Phil Hughes early on, just needs to circulate, score some points. He proved last year more than anybody that you can come from a long way back and still win the championship.
Yeah, across the Australian motorsport landscape, it was Mark Lauke that came from the furthest back, didn't he?
Zardalaudis doing a really good job in that patched up number 86 car. He's running third. Simon Haggerty with Mitch Nielsen right behind, full of pressure in the great battle for 4th and 5th place.
That's what we're talking about right now, coming down the straight. And gee, the prototypes really do show up the bumps in the Sandown layout, don't they? They really wobble around on their wheelbase. Makes it a bit tough. This particular part of the track here, which is like a patchwork quilt, they really do move around and unload the suspension. It can be very, very tricky to try and keep the foot buried in the floor to get through that part of the track. Dimitri Zardalaudis certainly taking full advantage of driver coaching. It's the easiest way to make up time in a race car is to grab a very experienced racer and ask them how to do it. Often there's a little bit of an exchange, a commercial exchange there as well, but what in life doesn't have a commercial exchange these days? But if you spend a little bit of money on that, you can spend $10,000 on a dyno, another $10,000 when you blow the engine on a dyno. Yeah. If you spend 20% or 5% of that on a bit of driver coaching and get the same amount out of a lap, then it's the cheapest lap time you can possibly ever get in a race car.
The two leaders are exchanging fastest laps. 1 minute 14.70 for Macris last time round, the leader. Drake 1 minute 14.4, so he's taken another 0.3 out. The gap now down to 1.6.
Well, Nielsen looking right wide around the number 5, the Simon Haggerty car now. This will be an exchange at the end of the straight. It'll be side by side, two identically matched SR3s. And side by side past the famous Sandown grandstand. The switch back. He's going to be on the wrong side for turn 2, although he'll have the lead before they even arrive there.
Terrific scrap. So they were wheel to wheel going in. Haggerty committed, but Nielsen's pass was nicely judged. Just did the old over-under. Puff of smoke from the right to the left front.
In fact, Haggerty's hurting.
He is. He's limping now. It wasn't when they were dueling. There was no contact either.
No.
But Haggerty just struggling to get out of turn 4, and he's given away a lot of lap time and track position this lap.
I wonder if he's damaged the tyre when he went up over on that ripple strip at turn 1. It wasn't that bad a run, but I guess in these low-slung radicals, Simon Haggerty's out of the HRT car now as well. So
yeah, there wasn't a lot of speed from the mechanics. They weren't throwing themselves at that car to try and get it back on the racetrack. So Macris the leader, Drake next, then Zardalaudis, Nielsen 4th, Haggerty 5th, Lauke 6th, and Phil Hughes in 7th. And as we talked about at the top of the race, we'll just score some championship points. And as it stands, after a pretty decent day yesterday where he was 4th in race 1, Macris will win the round with 76 points, but Hughes will walk away with 61 for the weekend. So he's only giving away 15 championship points, despite ending up bunkered in the gravel track for a lap and a half at the start of the race. So that shows the importance of getting to the end. And speaking of the end, Jason Macris has started his final lap of the race. 1 to go for the South Australian, now based on the Gold Coast, the Marina Mirage driver in the Wolf GBO8. Marina Mirage, very exciting development up there on the Gold Coast. JP Drake sets another fastest lap of the race, 14.0. It's been a good battle between the teammates. The gap down to 3.5 seconds.
Zardalaudis now putting car 1 a lap down as well, and Mark Lauki's not at all happy with it. He's going to try and go with him, but as much as his will wants him to, the West is not going to take him there at the moment. Race leader, Jason Macris from Marina Mirage, comes out of Dandenong Road for the last time in this 27-lap journey.
Winton last year was a breakthrough performance for Jason Macris in the Australian Prototype Championship. A really important weekend, and he's backed it up now. His second round victory and the first for the Wolf GBO8 in Australian competition. Jason Macris is the winner at Sandown. And in a great result for that team, his teammate JP Drake in second. And Dimitrios Zardalaudis, the Radical SR8 on the podium. What a terrific performance. Third place, great drive. So Macris and Drake 1 and 2. Zardalaudis was third, his first race podium in the series. Mitch Nielsen fourth, Tony Haggerty fifth, Mark Lauki sixth, with Engine Dramas and Philip Hughes seventh. You feel for Simon Haggerty, he ended up in pit lane with a deflating tyre. Sage Murdoch ended a DNF on the inside of the road at Dandenong Road with mechanical dramas in his west.
We'll be back here at Sandown in just a few moments.
Thought we'd spend a moment looking at a couple of the key storylines in the latest round of the Radical Australia Cup. And first up, we're going to talk to the points leader, Kim Burke, a stalwart of this championship. Is this finally the year?
Look, I hope so. It's been a long time coming. I've been second in the championship a couple of times, and I've been knocking on the door. But I think this year, fingers crossed, I can put it all together. So I'm just trying to turn up at every round, make the most of every round. When I can win, I'll win, and if I can't win, then I'll just get as many points as I can.
I can tell from the smile on your face how much you enjoy racing these cars. Why? What was the attraction? What was the appeal?
Oh, look, the cars are fantastic to drive. They're a proper race car. They're an open car. They're a prototype car, essentially. I've driven tin tops as well, and they're chalk and cheese. They behave like a race car. They've got a lot of grip. They're very fast. But on top of that, they're really cheap to run, and they're just tremendous fun to drive.
Now, I might get Andy, our cameraman, just to pan over down the back there and look at that helmet, because is that your helmet, and is that a little bit of Mark Webber inspiration?
There is a little bit of Mark Webber inspiration, actually, but I got to admit I copied his design, but it's working for me this year, so I might keep it.
Enjoy the rest of your time at Sandown. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cars coming around to start the Radical Australia Cup race, their second race for this weekend. Past the Dunlop sign, quite appropriately these cars shod with the Radical International Dunlop control tyre. And we've got a bit of quick news out of the pit straight in. Winslow has withdrawn, and now John Paul Drake will be running by himself. We've got Tony Shebeki right on the start of this race alongside me here as we see the field, compact field, streaming their way down to turn one.
It certainly is, Daz. Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. Kim Burke is our man out front up to turn one. Simon Haggerty, also John Paul Drake, was up the front of the grid, now towards the back. As you said, with James Winslow pulling out for the remainder of the day, it'll be John Paul Drake's car. What a great drive by James Winslow yesterday to get that car into pole position, and from lap one of him stepping into it, effectively he was hot to trot.
Yeah, certainly James Winslow comes with a very, very tidy CV to when he jumps into any race car, and he drove very well yesterday. Obviously jumping out, John Paul Drake's going to do the entire 250 minutes today, and we'll see how that starts to transpire. So Kim Burke started out of pole. It was Simon Haggerty, Tony Haggerty, Chris Perini, who had a win at the last round at Tail and Bend, as did Brad and Mitch Nielsen as well, the rookies from last year. Rowan Ross got a bit of damage, and we see the number 6, the Tony Haggerty car, has gone around, and that looks to be down at the site where we just saw Chelsea Angelo, and a big lock up there by the number 38, which is Brad Nielsen, currently in P2, so pushing pretty hard there early doors. So coming onto the main straight for the first time, we see that car go down around there. So Tony Haggerty, here we see it. It's on the exit of Dandenong Road there. A little bit evasive action from the cars behind, but Tony was running right up as far as second before that happened. But on the exit, as opposed to the entry, like we've just seen in the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge race, and we'll pick it up and continue on as Kim Burke leads the way up the back straight. It'll be Simon Haggerty in the second of the HRT, the Haggerty Racing Team Radicals, going up the hill under the Shell V-Power. Again, the control fuel of the Radical races right around the world. Talking about right around the world with the Radical races, great opportunity for the champion this year to go and race at Monza, of all places. So you win the local domestic series here at the Radical Australia Cup and head over to Monza.
And at the moment, that could be Kim Burke, who's had a great start to 2018 with a big swag of points for him, and he's obviously still in front of the championship, and with the 250-minute races today, a big chance to increase that lead over Chris Perini, who is just behind in second place. Peter Patton is a missing driver this weekend. Loves Sandown, had a fantastic year last year here at Sandown for Peter Patton. Not here this weekend, and once again that just gives an opportunity for Kim Burke to get full maximum points over the two races, even more impetus.
John Paul Drake running down in fifth at the moment. We probably expect JP to push up a little bit further at the moment, doing dual duties here this weekend, running in the prototype category as well. But Kim Burke, I guess, without Peter Patton being here this weekend, would be the favourite as he crests the top of the hill here at Sandown and it dips down. So at the moment, Kim Burke is fastest on track and is setting fastest sectors. Having said that, the second sector, which they've just completed, the car right behind there, car number 5 with Simon Haggerty, has set the fastest second sector of the weekend so far. So they're looking to be breaking records. You'd have to suggest, I guess, the ambient cold temperature is not giving the track the heat it needs into it, but these cold conditions are giving the little 1300cc Hayabusa motorcycle-based engines. They're certainly Radical Power engine, but they're based on that Hayabusa power plant. This would be ideal. Nice high revs, really cool, dense air, and a good explosion in the combustion chamber will be giving these guys every bit of performance they need. It may just be that it's going to be the sort of first 4 to 5 laps before the Dunlops get right up to speed, but pretty impressive times already this early. A little bit of housekeeping for the Radical Australia Cup as this round will start to unfold. The compulsory pit stop window for both their races today will open at 15 minutes after the commencement of the race, so we'll see the pit stop window open at that stage, and then we'll close at the 35-minute mark. Each car has to be across the control line in the pit lane before that 35-minute mark closes the pit lane. So we have seen in recent times a couple of drivers miss that opportunity, just concentrating with the race at hand. So they'll be getting told to come in as well. As we've got a spinner, and that is the 88 of Rowan Ross. So he had a big bit of damage at Tailem Bend. They didn't think the car was going to get back out, and it did. Only did 3 laps in the last race, but it did get rolling again. There's a fair old whack with the wall there too, so he looks like he's trying to get things going again. Top of the hill, boy, almost picture perfect of what Chelsea Angelo did. Had a wobble, tried to correct it, did all the right things from inside the car, was looking where he wanted to go, but gave the fence a fair old clout. Now these are particularly purpose-built race cars. They're not designed to hit walls like that.
And good news for Ryan Ross is that he's been able to get that car out and bring it back to pit lane. And the compulsory pit stop window is now open. Chris Papadopoulos there on the left, part of the Radical team out of Sydney Motorsport Park.
A bit of an update out of our people down in the pit lane. It looks like the uprights on the Rowan Ross car are bent, and that is not a real quick changeover. I wouldn't suspect. It might be 50 minutes to do it, but we're already 10 minutes into the 50-minute race, so they'll have the spares available down there, and let's hope that they can sling it on before the second of the Radical Australian Cup race. Got plenty of time. That's not until 2 o'clock this afternoon for the second race. So the crew assessing things down there to be able to get Rowan Ross back out there. Great shots coming out of Dandenong Road. They're right over the shoulder almost of Simon Haggerty onto the dash there, the Motec type LCD screen there feeding all the information back. Oh, and our leader in.
Yep.
So,
and Haggerty stays out, so get your camera ready.
Kim Burke. Yeah, let's get a photo of the screenshot of the race leader. Now Simon Haggerty, Chris Perini. Bit of a gap back now to Chris Perini, just under 4 seconds. So compulsory pit stop, engine turned off. We're just seeing the RAC crew. Just a bit of tyre deflation, just making sure they're back to a normal level to continue on with the remaining 33 minutes in this race. So just dropping them, you suspect what they're doing is dropping them back or just getting a gauge on what they are, and if they're at that operating window, then they'll be left alone. So just seeing a little bit of air being bled out there, which is absolutely totally normal procedure for this type of race with a pit stop in it. And of course, they're quite a technical piece of kit, the Radical SR3RS. That's what we're seeing, the most up-to-date outfits being run, and most of the teams are running the newest, the greatest and newest this weekend. So Kim Burke, Chris Perini and Rowan Ross all in the new cars. Our race leader is coming in. Was that Perini? Yep, that's Chris Perini coming in. Kim Burke heading out in the number 66.
John Paul Drake also in with Chris Perini as well.
So the number 68, this is the Kim Burke car. So this is the current SR3 RSX that we're going to be putting a bit of a spotlight on throughout today's racing. Just giving everyone the details there. So great, seeing the 66 rejoining. So John Paul Drake had quite a short pit stop. It was only 45 seconds. There was that success for James Winslow. So James Winslow not jumping into the car, so he'll get his normal ranking. So at the moment, one square cleanse, we're actually seeing on screen now that will probably end up being the race lead, currently for 5th, 6th and 7th on the road. Just having a quick focus on the Radical SR3 RSX. It's a two-seater carbon steel space frame, full FIA safety cell and aluminium front crash structure. So as far as the world of motorsport goes, it's the full spec FIA crash structure, so you'd like to think you're nice and safe inside that outfit there. 6-piece lightweight fiberglass body with side skirts, side pods and a composite tail. Lots of downforce through the aluminium biplane rear wing. As I mentioned before, the RPE Suzuki 1500cc 4-cylinder Hayabusa, and the RSXs now have the generation 3 of that power plant. 1500cc, 260 brake horsepower at 9,500 RPM, so good high revs, gives us that good scream that we hear the cars coming by, so really designates that note. Tony Haggerty in the lane now, and that will complete our pit stops. Oh, it won't. No, Mitch Nielsen is still to come in. So there's effectively, actually after the pit stop, Simon Haggerty will remain in the lead. So this is actually 1, 2 and 3 on the road.
But I'll tell you what, 1, 2 and 3 on the road, look how close they are, half a second between the three of them. Haggerty, John Paul Drake and Kim Burke. Chris Perini then a further 10 seconds back in effectively 4th place. Be interesting to see though, Mitch Nielsen's now come into the lane. He's got a 1.5 lap gap between him and Simon Haggerty. So we have a spinner, and that is John Paul Drake. It's going to hurt his chances.
Lost a bit of concentration there. It was sitting in a good striking distance for the lead. So just looking at the number 38, the Nielsen car, 85 and a 25 equalisation. So here it is, Kim Burke coming up onto the back of, and there goes John Paul Drake. Costly mistake, costly mistake.
Simon Haggerty's had a, I would say, fairly distinguished career in the Radical Australia Cup. 3rd in the championship back in 2011, 12 and 13. So definitely been thereabouts over his time in the RAC.
Been doing it for quite a while, and we've seen him go round, exiting Dandenong Road, so he's relinquished the lead. A very rare mistake from Simon Haggerty, and Kim Burke goes through. He have himself about a 5 or 6 second lead after that. turned around down at Dandenong Road, so you'd have to think with the pace that Kim Burke's had on. Here we go. Comes down there. All looking pretty neat and tidy. Where did it go wrong? Oh, just turn in oversteer. And that'll catch you out every single time. So maybe just turn in a little bit earlier than what he has been, getting a little bit rattled by the pressure of Kim Burke. Well, having said that, Kim Burke was a fair way off. It wasn't right like he was right up under the rear wing there.
Pretty much the same as what happened to John Paul Drake in exactly the same spot.
It is. Going to turn in oversteer, and that's so stiffly sprung, you hit a bump and it upsets the whole car, and around you go. Sandown International, a little bit of a patchwork these days, with little bits and pieces of the track that have had resurfaces and repairs.
Chris Perini now right up and close. He's smelling exhaust fumes from John Paul Drake. Is he close enough to get a run up the outside? It's probably not the place to get it done, I would have thought.
John Paul Drake's driving very well here. He's holding a line, albeit a defensive line. He's holding it. He's actually chosen the same line for about the last 3 laps now, so he's been consistent. He can't be told that he's holding up or blocking. Look at Perini now, jumping out over the bumps underneath the Penrite Oils Bridge. And coming onto the straight this time around, so equally matched in their mechanical grip. There's just a difference in aero between these cars.
I'd be surprised if that accelerator of Chris Perini goes through the floor. He'd be pushing it that hard.
Do you reckon it'd be bent over around the back of the firewall? It goes wide. This will be a brave run. And here's our race leader, you'd have to suggest, on the last lap with only 24 seconds left to go. Kim Burke will climb the hill. The lead is back out to 0.8 of a second. This is, again, a reminder for 3rd place. John Paul Drake in the 66. Perini there in the number 81. Took a win at Tailem Bend. Car currently sitting 4th. That carbon grey and red outfit. A really smart looking livery. In fact, they've both got completely different liveries. One's as busy as that all get up, and the other one's a simple GT stripe over carbon red, isn't it? So time is up. Let's look to the straight now. There is race leader Kim Burke. Checkered flag goes to Kim Burke, and he takes the first of the 2 50-minute races here today as part of round 2 of the Shannon's National. The race is on now for 3rd. What's Perini got? He's going to have huge drive out of the corner to get the run up to, looks to the inside. It's going to be side by side. How do they get to the line? We'll have to look to the timing screen to see what happens. But it will be John Paul Drake that just holds it, and holds it out to 0.02 to Chris Perini.
Kim Burke from Simon Haggerty, a 1 second gap between those two. John Paul Drake in 3rd. Chris Perini in 4th place. Brad Nielsen, Tony Haggerty and Rowan Ross making up our 7 cars here at Sandown for the Radical Australia Cup this weekend.
We'd love to see all of you at every single one of our rounds throughout the year. Of course, Phillip Island on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of June. It's a huge weekend down there. Get down to Melbourne's playground, Phillip Island for the weekend, and come to the Shannon's Nationals.